The Fibre and Foil podcast is brought to you by the Card Care Academy. On this episode of Fibre and Foil,
I kind of use things for certain different types, right? Sometimes I can clean a card just using distilled water, right? Sometimes you just get that little speck off, you soak your.
With black spots and stuff, if it's just not coming off, just shove off. Do something else, you know what I mean?
The biggest thing that I've noticed when cleaning a card, especially with really stubborn spots, it's not pressure that gets it done, it's repetition.
Yeah.
Right?
Almost, there's like a look to a scratch almost, and I don't know how to describe it right now. Maybe you possibly could.
It like looks almost like it's painted in contest. And this card still sticks with me because I think it was absolutely well done. Is Alex Bear's card he submitted.
Welcome to Fibre and Foil. I'm Professor Douglas. Here with me is legendary card care. There's my friend, Austin. What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy.
Hell yeah. That intro went great. Today we're talking about cleaning cards.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we kind of touched on this on the last episode when we kind of discussed like card repair hierarchy, right?
Yeah, yes.
And one of the first things you need to learn how to do is clean a card.
This is the first thing I did for a long time, is just
exactly
how to get dirt off, not soak a bunch of water in the card and mess it up, because that's possible too. I've messed up cleaning cards, so I feel like this was an important pillar to start with here. It's the first thing we do, as we go through this podcast and build up, techniques and all that. It just felt right to start with the beginning, and work our way up. So,
just sometimes I think people just forget, just a simple cleaning up a card makes a world of difference. I'm sure you've gotten cards in that are just like caked in mud. I've had some recently that have had playground sand. You kind of have to like tap out the sand as you're cleaning it, right?
Yeah.
And then after you clean it, you're like,
want to peel, stuff gets down in there.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's some weird stuff. That's some weird stuff. Same with like marker, stuff like that.
Pen.
Cleaning comes in different.
All that type of stuff.
Whether it's binder mold or like somebody spilled something on it. I actually fixed I wouldn't say fixed, but I tried to clean up the best I could a Jolteon that clearly had some coffee.
Wow.
It was jolty. It was very jolty with some coffee. I tried to make a joke. It didn't work. But it was coffee. It was definitely coffee.
Coffee on.
It smelled like coffee once I got it wet with some card spray and stuff and tried to like kind of use some pads to suck it up out of there. But it was gnarly.
There's been plenty of times where you'll see a card that's like a PSA 8, maybe a 9, and you're looking at it like there's no white, it's well centered. What could be wrong with this? I have a rule about not cracking 9s, but I'll crack 8s all day. And sometimes it just needs a clean, right? Underneath the microscope, you clean it, kind of remove some scratching, resub, and then you most times get a good little grade bump.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all it takes. Takes a microscope here and there too to do that, but once you do bust that out and find it, you're like, oh, this is all that held this back. It's just like, honestly, sometimes I'm surprised that grading companies don't just bust out a little rag and get the little dust off themselves to do it. It's so easy. It can be so easy, but there's still kind of an art to it, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what do you use to start? What do you use to clean with mostly? Are you into like card spray or just water? What are you using?
So I'm weird. I kind of do a different process. I've been fortunate enough to work with a bunch of different brands, a bunch of different products, and I kind of use things for certain different types, right? Sometimes I can clean a card just using distilled water, right? Sometimes you just get that little speck off. You just soak your fine Q-tip, one of these guys. Soak one of these guys in some distilled water and you just kind of nudge it off, Also, if the card is dry, I like to use those bamboo toothpicks just because they're really soft, so you don't have to worry about it scraping the card when you're kind of dry picking. And using a dry pick to knock off some of those debris. And the biggest thing that I've noticed when cleaning a card, especially with really stubborn spots, it's not pressure that gets it done, it's repetition.
Yeah.
Right?
the way
Like, I'll
that
sit
you're
there
like
with my
wiping it
Q-tip.
sometimes, if I
Yeah,
like
exactly.
at it, it'll
Yeah,
come
because
off.
like when I first started, I would have some of these stubborn spots, and I would just be sitting there pressing harder and harder and harder, and eventually you're just gonna start wearing down the fibers,
Hmm.
and you'll start seeing that blue spread, and it'll eventually turn to white, right? Because you're going to the next layer.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was gonna say you'll take
so
paint off. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
I did that on
But
finding Mewtwo once, and I'm still scarred from it. Have a lot of scars, baby. A lot of battle scars. You got to ruin to learn, right?
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Like I mainly use Kurt's card spray for cleaning purposes if I
Mhm.
can't get something off with distilled water. And as far as me cleaning and abrasives and stuff like this, Quan will pull up the B-roll of me cleaning a card I did recently for you guys. That way you guys can see. But first things first is I get my Kurtz card spray, have my little cotton round. I'll do my two sprays on there, just kind of standard. I'll fold my cotton round in half just to kind of disperse all the moisture throughout the cotton round. Start from innermost part of the card, halfway in, wipe out, and then I'm weird. I like to dry it with a microfiber towel after I do that, and then do the exact same on the bottom, and then I dry that with a microfiber towel. Why
Nice.
do I do that? Yeah, I've just had cards soak up moisture in the
Yep.
past, and so I'm just really hesitant about that because this is normally, the whole entire. I clean the card before I work on it, and then I clean the card again after I'm done working on it because I'm just weird.
I do the
Uh,
same thing. Nope, it's
yeah,
not weird.
just
Yep.
kind of give the final touch up.
Take every
And
precaution.
then from there, I like to do Miracle Card Care. I use Miracle Card Care. I buff the whole entire card with Miracle Card Care. It's really easy to use. It's it's a cream essentially. You just dip your little foam round in there. These little guys. Let me get one out for you. Yep, absolutely. Those little guys or these little guys, whatever ones you prefer to use.
Actually, I
I
want
dip
more
it in there,
ones. Yeah, I like those.
and I like to do. I'm weird. I just like to do a pattern. So do semicircles up and down the hollow, and then I go up and down in semicircles, and then I just
Mhm.
wipe. And the reason I do miracle is a lot of times if it's just needs a pop in the card, makes it a little bit more shinier, I guess, because sometimes you get those faded out hollows. I'll do that, and then I'll look at the card again. I'm like, okay, Miracle didn't knock it out. I'm gonna combine products here, and then from there I step up to Kurt's Recovery.
Mhm.
Kurt's Recovery is an abrasive. If you guys aren't aware what abrasives do, there's two types. You have fillers, and then you have ones that kind of smooth out the scratch, essentially and disperse it, kind of like you do with auto body almost. Uh, and Kurtz isn't a filler, so you essentially just kind of buff out the scratch.
Yeah, you're taking that
And
very topmost layer down to match.
yep, exactly. So I'll do Kurtz recovery, and after I do Kurtz recovery on there, I'll grab these little microfibers. I like to use these Japanese microfibers. For whatever reason, they last forever for me. Just use those, just wrap it around my finger, and just kind of buff it, just like you would with a car. And then again, wipe it with a microfiber towel. And then from there, I kind of assess. For me, my good rule of thumb is 3 times with Kurt's recovery. And if it doesn't come out, most likely times you're not going to get it out with Kurt's recovery.
Mhm.
I'll do the up to 3 times.
Mhm.
And then I finish it all off with the good old Kurt's polish, the OG, the thing that helps so
Mhm.
many cards. I just do my Kurt's polish. I buff it with a microfiber towel, and then I wipe with the microfiber towel. And for me, that's how I get most of my scratches out.
Mhm.
Uh, but I know you kind of do something different to me. You want to talk about your cleaning process?
Yeah, for sure. So not all the way different, but I definitely keep, like you were saying, just distilled water. If it's just like wiping just like a couple little fuzzies off and stuff like that, I'm not finding a lot of like little black spots, like binder mold type
Mhm.
of thing. If I do, I'm getting my Kurtz and I'm actually like cutting it in half with distilled water. So this is like a 50-50 of Kurtz and distilled water. I do that both to make it last longer, is pretty much the main reason, and B, it's less not abrasive. Abrasive's not really the word, but it's the word I'm shooting for here. Less,
Less strong.
yeah, less strong. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more fragile. using it like cut a little bit. The one time I did take paint off of like the front, and it was that shining Mewtwo, I couldn't help but to feel like I obviously I spent too long on the spot. There was just one little spot that just was not coming out. I was like, this is the only thing holding this card back right now. I'm getting this spot off, and I got overzealous, which we talked about in the first episode. Don't get greedy. Don't get greedy. If it's just not coming off with black spots and stuff, if it's just not coming off, just shove off. Do something else, you know what I mean? Let it dry even, and then try again later. Maybe it loosened it. But for the most part, I'm cutting it in half so it's just a little less abrasive, and stretches it out. I use eye lens cloths that I just order off of Amazon. They're pretty cheap. I spray this directly rather than a cotton round that you use. And I use these to clean with. And I just kind of methodically, like, use a side at a time until I feel as though it's pretty used up. I'm making sure I'm wiping it off and stuff.
Yep.
And then I keep a couple of little baskets near me. I found them at like Walmart for like $1.50. And I separate my recovery towels and my polish towels, and I use these to wipe my cards with. Basically the same things that like Kurt uses in his video. So I really mostly just use recovery on my cards as far as getting scratches out. So I clean my card, I go right to the recovery. I also kind of sometimes, if my pad, if this was a little bit too wet, I'll dry it off, because there has been times where I've only cleaned a card and I've cleaned the backside of the card, which soaks up the most moisture. I've put it in a penny sleeve, put it into the finished case, and I'll notice in a couple days the penny sleeve itself got a little like wavy, like there's moisture in it.
Yep.
So sometimes back in the Dizzy, I would, find cards that still had a little moisture in them just from cleaning it. So you really gotta like let the card rest and just air out for a couple minutes. That's super important. That's like a little pill that I figured out that, you don't really think about at first. But after I do recovery, and same thing, you're basically just sanding like the hollow down to get like a even plane, and that's how you're taking out those micro scratches. I just do a methodical like little circle pattern, left to right to left, left to right, right to left, wipe it, and you could go kind of a longer time. When I first started trying to get micro scratches out when recovery came out, I was laying it down, kind of doing like one pass, wiping it. But you kind of stay down there for an extra second and just kind of try and get the bad spots out. If you have like a cluster of scratches, you can really sit on that spot and go after it. And then wipe it off with your microfiber cloth. And like you were saying, if it's not going to come out in like 3 passes, it's kind of meaning that it's deeper. But I'd be willing to try it for the very last pass on stuff that I feel like could come out, that is not that deep, and I don't see almost, there's like a look to a scratch almost, and I don't know how to describe it right now. Maybe you possibly could.
It like looks almost like it's dented in.
Yeah.
But it's not dent because it doesn't shadow,
Mm-hmm.
There's just some that I have gone ham at in the past. And something you need to be careful with all cleaning products is your pressure. Like back in the day when I was cleaning things, I would just be pressing so hard. I'd like look at my foam applicator and be the exact same color as the hollow. And I'm like, oh man, this card's ruined now.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of made buddies with a PSA grader that was like, dude, I can tell when people are like, we pop cards for recovery and cleaning agents and stuff, and people pushing down. That's like how they can kind of tell, as far as I know, is just like,
I mean,
you're
I think the
hollow,
easiest
you're taking
analogy.
plastic away.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think the easiest analogy I used to tell people is it's kind of like you're at a party, right? You want everyone to know you're at the party, but not be so much involved in the party where you get kicked out. That's all card cleaning is. You want the card to know you're there, but not enough where it's gonna be like, hey, you need to go home.
I like that analogy a lot. You and I have lived some full lives, so we have been there, done that. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I used to press a little bit too hard too until I realized, in the first like couple months of cleaning cards and stuff before I started going after like dents and stuff. Let the foam do the work. If you're
Yep.
feeling like the little stick inside of it touch, like your chances are you're going a little bit too hard. You don't have to, be super gentle to where like you're hardly holding it, but there is a happy medium.
Yep.
Happy
I
medium.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And kind of something interesting in our Discord, and something interesting that, I kind of do weird is there's some products you can use that aren't meant for card cleaning that do surprisingly well.
Yeah.
One of the big things I like to use is Olaplex, number 7. It's a hair oil, and what it does is sometimes you get those really foggy base set through jungle, neo vintage cards, and you'll kind of see a fogginess to it even after you're done cleaning it, all this other type of stuff. And I'll just get some Olaplex. You don't need a whole bunch. Like I'm talking just barely enough to coat the foam, and you just go around it, wipe it off really good because it's an oil. You just wipe it off, and it just makes the hollow pop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of the weird things I do. I've sent cards through grading; they've all graded fine. Uh, and then the other thing that me and you have both seen is new finish.
Yeah, I know a lot of restorers that use that. It's
And
relatively cheap,
though you,
is like a nice part about it.
yep, absolutely. There's so many different things you can use, right? I have a tub of beeswax that sometimes I'll use beeswax on cards. I've seen a new finish, and there's just so many different lines of products out there. All have the same goal, right? For you to clean your cards. If I had to kind of go through and be like, oh no, I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use this one. Just choose which one ever makes you most comfortable.
Mm-hmm. It's finding what
I'm
works for you.
that's
Yeah.
exactly that's kind of the biggest thing when it comes to card care products. Here at the Card Care Academy, we like using Kurtz, just because his stuff has been tested, and he has been doing it for so long that he's like, hey, I've done this before. I would try this, do this differently.
Mm-hmm.
And something interesting that he told me is his polish almost acts as a cleaning agent too. Because I've had some really rough spots on cards that I couldn't get off. He's like, "Hey, just take some polish to it." Took some polish to it, and it took it right off.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's amazing what I've
but
seen him
yeah,
do with sports cards as far as that goes. Like
yeah,
stain or something in it, or like, isn't it the gum? The cards
yeah,
used to come in like the gum packs and be gum stuck to it. The polish was great for getting that stuff off.
yep,
That's super interesting. That's like a faction pass Pokemon that I haven't like. I find super cool. That vintagey weird stuff.
yeah. I would say if I use Kurtz a lot, and then of course I use Miracle a lot, uh, just because sometimes you kind of get this with all things is sometimes you look at a card, it's like, hey, it just needs a little something. And for me, that's what I'm using Miracle for primarily is
Mm-hmm.
it's not that deeply scratched, but it just needs a little pop. I'm going to use Miracle. And it does great. It does great for all sorts of cleanings and stuff like that. So does Kurtz. So like I said, we kind of talked about this on the first episode, is just getting familiar with what you're using, right? That's the biggest thing. Is just find something that you enjoy, products you enjoy using, and use them. And you could probably, if you get super familiar with one thing, I guarantee that's all you really need.
Yeah, yeah. I would say you'll find your style based on how gentle the product is too. I feel like
Yeah.
gentle is a good word for the miracle card care stuff. I feel like it's a lot more gentle and less abrasive than the Kurtz recovery. And for people that are like just starting out, I feel like it's way more user friendly as far as that goes. Like you don't have as much risk on like big boy cards. Not that you should be working on big boy cards when you're first starting out, anyways. I won't drill that enough. I'm gonna keep saying, stop working on crazy cards. Like 2 months into doing this, stop it. Hate hearing those horror
Yeah.
stories, because I've so yeah. I think just finding what works for you. It's just a ratio thing
Yeah.
as far as that goes. So the pressure, it's all just a big kind of little juggle of ratios.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to is for a long time before Kurtz had recovery, I would just do Miracle Card Care and finished off with Kurt's Polish. And to me, that was an amazing dream combo. It's just using those two in tandem for whatever reason, it just produced really great results.
Yeah.
So when her recovery came out, I was like, oh, I'm gonna try throwing recovery in my mix, and made it even better. It comes with everything. Is you just have to be wary of your pressure when using any type of abrasive.
Yeah,
That's just how it is.
end up going
But
through the card.
yeah, you can do that with anything. You know, especially like new finished. I believe is really abrasive from my personal experience using it.
Yeah, is it
To the
chemically
point where
abrasive? Is that kind of how it works, in a sense?
yeah, so it's a car product, and when you're using it, it can remove scratches. The person that I know uses it really frequently is Pokey DRAS,
Okay,
and
yeah.
so he will use it and then he'll finish with Kurt's polish. But if you're pushing too hard, you're gonna eat the hollow with new finish. It is abrasive.
Yeah.
It is meant for cars, right?
Mhm.
So it's not cut down like these card care products. And so when you're using it, you can completely see a color change in your foam if you're just pushing a little too hard.
The foam of doom. It's the look of
Yeah,
doom.
exactly.
Just yeah, I've had that. But gotten over that hump, thankfully. I hope I never see that again. A lot of cards give us PTSD, guys.
Yeah, and that's just kind of it's just unfortunately, you mess up on cards and that's okay, right? It's just I always like I'll get people that'll message me like, "Oh my gosh, Austin, I messed up on this card." I'm like, "You didn't mess up. Just use it as a learning lesson,
Yep.
right? That's
Yeah.
all you need to reframe it as."
Mm-hmm. You either run from it or learn from it. It's better to just learn from it. So that's how it goes.
I think one of the things I want to touch on though is for card cleaning, especially when I'm using polish or spray or anything, I'm doing all this on the standard Castleman toolbox liner foam. Main
Yeah,
reason
what
being,
you do it on is really important. Yeah.
yeah, main reason being is let's say I wipe over the edge of the card, right? That Castleman's there to absorb anything that touches past that card border. Sometimes I'll get really creative and I have a thick Castleman mat that I have a recessed card in there. So I can just
Oh,
put the
that's
card in there,
good.
it lays flat. Huh?
What?
Yeah,
That's
it's
sick.
weird.
That's kind of sweet.
When I'm doing some cards and I'm just so worried about it absorbing edge moisture, I just, wipe it on that recessed foam.
All right, goat. All right,
I
goat.
don't know about
I haven't heard of that before. Goat. Bah.
that.
Crazy. Huh. I want to do that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just sits the card perfectly in there, and so that way if you're polishing, you're not gonna hit the edge of a card, you're gonna hit the mat, you know?
hmm hmm One thing I definitely make sure I do is wipe off the sides of the card once you're done.
Yep.
Once you're all the way done, just go over the sides because there sure as shit is something that kind of stuck to the sides. And as I'm going on my mat, I'm also, wiping off the mat here and there as I go too, just so extra stuff as I'm flipping the card over and over just doesn't like stick and leave a mark or whatever, a smudgy. Huh, that's interesting. What else we got? As far as like the Kurtz like the polish goes, it it's crazy that it has become like the standard really for all cards. And it's crazy to me going to card shops and people not knowing like who Kurt is and like other stuff in this industry that makes it so easy to just make a card better. Like I was just at a card store the other day with my friends, a local one in Akron, and I was trying to kind of make small talk with the employees, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm just kind of looking for a little project card." They're like, "What do you mean project card?" It's like just something to like clean and polish up and stuff and like fix. And not one of them knew what fixing cards like kind of was. Nor
Yeah.
were most of them interested, which, whatever. They work at a card shop. They're around cards every day, all day. I'm sure they're just like, enough cards, dude. Like, one more thing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, though, the parts of this industry that are so entrenched in cards, like, don't know that much about, like, the products used as far as, like, Kurtz or Miracle or, any other little company out there right now doing stuff. It's
Well, like when I first started, I remember when I was doing this when I very first started last January, and I wasn't. I didn't know about. I knew about Kurt, but I didn't know about his products, right?
Mhm.
And I was going to these shows and talking to these people, and they were showing me all sorts of weird ways to clean a card and do this and do that, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of them were using the Carnuba car polish, just that little car polish, using that to clean up their cards and give them a little touch and then do that. But even to me, like it still smelled chemically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I've heard vendors
And
doing like a lot of weird stuff like that,
hmm
not knowing that there is just like an industry standard out there for specifically this.
and there's the biggest thing I want to tell people is even though there's all these DIY things to clean cards, polish cards, you don't know what it's going to do down the line,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And if you're working on customer cards, I would not be, because my thing is when I'm talking to a customer and I kind of explain everything what I do to a card, essentially, right? I use this product. Here's why I use this product. Here's why I used it on your card. If I have a customer and they're like, I got my card back. It looks really great. How'd you polish the hollow? I went and took some car wax. I applied it to your card and, hopefully it grades, right? All my friends have told me it grades,
Yeah.
but I just can't risk that, right?
It's not worth the experiment on a customer's card.
No,
No.
no,
If you have something of
absolutely
your
not.
own just to like send in to see if like it's gonna get caught, that's one thing. But that should be an obvious for people. Dude, there's people out there. It's better than say
Yeah.
it than not say it. I hear all
And
kinds of
kind of the
stuff.
biggest thing too I want to touch on is after you clean your card, I like to take a black light to it
Hmm.
just to make sure I didn't leave any sort of residue. Luckily, Kurtz, Miracles, all that passes black light testing, right? So you're okay. That's kind of how you know with some of these other products is you'll take a black light to it and it will pop. You'll see immediately like, hey, there's some sort of foreign substance on this card.
Yeah.
And a big one that you and I see frequently is the Neolugia. That thing pops more than no other for
Dude,
cleaning.
to a point of like you're lying. You like you guys are lying about this. But I mean, I guess they're right sometimes. Well, here's the thing though. I've met a couple card restorers and Early Pop Card Shop. I remember got a first edition Neo Lugia. It was mint. Like this thing was like a 10 if I've ever seen one. And she was very much so like I've never touched this card. This card has not been touched. It's been in a BGS case for a long time. Past when people were messing with Pokemon cards all like this. You know what I mean? Guarantee
Yeah.
has not been messed with as far as recovery, blah, blah, blah. Was like, I'm not even going to touch this card. I'm going to send it all in. And then sent in also like 20 or to 30 other cards that got hydro pumped the crap out of and super worked on. Those all passed, that one altered. So it's like, PSA, you're lying. You're lying
Yeah.
liar. Like, but there's something to be said about maybe being able to tell on mirror hollows, like finding abrasions. I think that mirror hollows are just a little more susceptible to see patterns of
Yeah.
what you're doing to it. I think that's what they're getting it from. I really want to crack the code of like why mirror hollows specifically get popped so often. And I think that's why.
Yeah, everyone, and what's weird is you can get the card back after it being deemed altered, hit it again with Kurt's polish, send it in old grade, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just something weird about that Neo Lugia card that just for every reason that's the card I see pop the most for altered.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone,
Pop control, I don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but it's just so strange to me. But it's something I kind of want to talk about since we were touching about sending cards in for grading, and Quan will pull this up for us. Is I had a good friend of mine who I work with pretty frequently. He sent me this BGS 8.5 Umbreon, and we were looking at it in the case. He's like, "Oh no, should we work on the card?" I was like, "Yeah, let's work on the card." And I popped it open. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's exactly why it got an 8.5. Is the surface score was a little low, and I just looked and it just had a scratched hollow. I said, all I'm going to do to this card, that's all we're going to do is just fix the scratches." He's like, "Oh, okay." So buffed it out, did my typical process I do. That one I only used Kurt's Recovery though. I didn't feel like it needed Miracle. Didn't feel like it
Hmm.
really needed anything else. I just used Kurt's Recovery on it, and it went from an 8.5 BGS to a PSA 9. And what's even wilder is, he bought the card for under 2K, and a PSA 9 at that time had recently sold for about 4,000. And he's like, you just made me $2,000 just from cleaning
Yeah,
and
I'm
polishing a
sure
card.
that
And I was
dude
like,
would have
that's a
grabbed
skull.
your head and just kissed your forehead, just like,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And I was just like, it's so weird. And I've done some other cards as well. I've gotten some decent grade bumps just from cleaning and polishing. And, like I said, you go find some sevens through, 7/8 a lot of times. You go look at it and you're like, there's nothing wrong with the card, but maybe a little scratch. And just remove that scratch, send it back in, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I have a card actually that is an 8.5 with a surface of 8. Everything else is like 9s and 8.5. It's a Jolteon, and I think it's that issue exactly. It's just if I crack this open, I think I'm gonna find a couple little micro scratches, and just maybe like a speck of something here and there, here or there. Because I mean, the back looks fresh to death. I mean, there's hardly barely any whitening. I mean,
Yeah.
this thing could be a 9, but I gotta find some time for myself. Fixing other people's crap all the time. But yeah, to rewind here about it being like the first pillar of card restoration, and how important it is to just clean a card and finding yourself projects. I think that's another way to go about card restoration for yourself, is to find cards that are big and they're not that messed up, and how much time you have. If you can find some stuff that like all you want to do is just like clean and just like polish it up a little bit, I think that's just as restorative and like baller as anything else out there that people are doing and reinventing the wheel.
Absolutely.
Crazy techniques and stuff. I think it's just as cool. I rarely get to post posts of cards that I just, scratch reduced and they came out sweet. I have a first edition Dragonite card on my Instagram that I did, that I just took the scratches out and I was like, damn, I'm good. Like it gives you the same amount of good feeling to take a bunch of scratches out, because you're what you're doing is you're assessing how deep those micro scratches are. You kind of get a take of what's fixable, what's not, and to walk away with that, I think, is like the part that you can be like, yes, that's that good
Yeah.
feeling. Is just
Yeah, and
understanding.
like we kind of talk about this a lot, but walking before you run, just because you see someone do a super complicated crease and currently your skill set's only like, hey, I can remove these scratches, it doesn't diminish you at all,
Yeah,
right? You're
you're
still
still
doing
crushing it.
something. That's the biggest thing, right? It's kind of like I get these really messed up cards that I have to apply so many different techniques in, but you wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't essentially build up each technique before jumping to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Like every now and then I'll take, especially this last queue, I just barely did. I took a lot of really weird edge repairs because I haven't done edges for a while. And I was like, I'm gonna make sure that I polish on my edge skills, and kind of work on it that way. But we kind of get better as time goes along. I was chatting with someone recently, and they were like, "Hey, I want to do card repairs, do this." I'm like, the biggest thing is just patience. Just patience. It's a skill that you learn. We touch on this so much,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just a skill that you learn. And once you learn that skill, you can apply it over and over and over again. Like, sure, you have different eras, you have different card stocks, all that type of thing. But once you kind of master one skill, you're like, okay, I know how to get this dent out. I can now get this dent out. Oh, this dent looks a little rougher. Okay, I know the premise and get that out. Same thing with card cleaning, right? Like I get some messed up cards where it's taken me, sometimes half an hour just to clean out the whole entire card,
Mm-hmm.
but it looks brand new after I'm done.
I have a video that I recorded that I was going to upload about how to clean a card, and I didn't like the angle, but I also realized like this card was jacked up. It's actually the dark Hypno that I used to show what a hydro pump is. It took me like 45 minutes to clean the front. It was so dirty, it was crazy. And after I got done with the video and I looked at how long it was, I was like, I can't post this. I said, even in like 4X, this is long as hell. Made no sense. But it's a testament to just relax. I'm bringing it back to glass blowing. It's a saying in glass blowing. Sorry, I have so many hobbies. But in glass blowing, going slower is faster. You're not gonna have to stop what you're doing later and fix that. Because if you go to press the card and there's still like some dirt or something, and you get it off later, that might be a dent there. The card is very impressionable. Anything that you leave is gonna kind of get pressed into that card if there's like a 3D aspect to it. As small as that is, and it's going to be harder later to get it out. So there was once again a hump to get over when you start doing restoration and cleaning cards and doing all this, is you can't wait for it to be done. You can't wait for that result. You have a super expensive thing that you bought at a store, and you're going to make it more expensive. It's going to be more better later, and you just want to see that happen. You also start thinking about the next card too, like, oh, I gotta get this done to get to this next card. Just chill out and just enjoy the one card that you're working on. That was something personally that I was like, well, worried about the next thing, but we're super ADD here. So it's something to think about. I don't know. It resonates for me to tell people to just take it slow. Find different things that you like to clean with. I thought I think it's super interesting that you use cotton rounds. I saw that you have those longer Q-tips with the pointed edge. Is that all you use as far as Q-tip goes?
No, I use weird stuff. Like I said, I have these little bamboo toothpicks. Right?
Yeah.
Whole slew of those.
Let's talk about that real quick, because I have I'm a degenerate glassblower, and I have this dab tool. We won't get into what that is, but this dab tool has like this little like spatula end, and it just looks a little bit wompy or like discolored from a flame getting it hot to clean it. But if I'm super, super careful, I can use this metal edge to like pop off little like specks of stuff that just aren't coming off. Basically, it's doable. It's just anxiety inducing.
Well, and like you get, and there's just so many different products to use. Like the bamboo, I was really scared about dry picking cards for such a long time. Quan is actually the one that told me like, hey, get these bamboo toothpicks. They're super soft. You don't have to worry about, like if you're using a standard dinner toothpick, those are pretty rigid. He's like, get these bamboo toothpicks, a little bit softer on the card. And then, everyone kind of uses these, right? Like those you see pretty frequently. Those I use for cleaning. Those I'll use for snail trail. I use those for so many different things. And then for kind of like more precision cleaning, I like using, let's see if the camera, there we go.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, these little small pointed foam. Let's see. There we go. These little pointed foam tips. I like to use those. I use those along the edges a lot when they're, sometimes you get those specks on the edges of cards. I'll just have a little cap of card spray, dip these little tiny foam applicators in there, and that's how I'm cleaning it. I'm always doing broad to precision when I'm cleaning a card. Like I'll do a couple wipes with the cotton round, and instead of like me sitting there and going like scrubbing the card, I'll just switch to a more precision instrument, right? I'll go from there,
small amount, and then go back
to this, and then to something even smaller. And like I said, a lot of it is if you're just sitting there going around on a card, it doesn't knock off. Put it between some foam, let it rest for a little bit. That Casamin foam is going to absorb the excess moisture, and just come back to it in like an hour, right? Because there's sometimes I get frustrated when I'm just sitting there cleaning the crap out of a card and it won't budge, and I'm like, you know what? I need to walk away, and I just walk away.
Walking away is super important. Also, don't work on cards if you're like mad that day, or if you just had some bad energy. I feel like every card restorer at least one time has like told each other like, oh, dude, you can't work on cards today. You tripping?
Yeah.
Like you can't work on cards when you're tripping. Like that's when you make mistakes. You start getting a little bit complacency is bad And when you start getting complacent because you're mad at stuff or like you just had a bad day, that's when you're gonna mess up. But going back to my degeneratism, I wanted to show off this little like cotton tool that I use. So for dabbing, we use glob mobs, and they're these pointed Q-tips.
Oh, those are cool.
I hope it focuses, darn it. But yeah, they're pointed on one end, and yeah, there we go.
There you go.
They're pointed on one end and round on the other. But the density of these fibers is like unmatched to anything I've used, basically. Even those, the ones on the wood tip, which this is still wood rather than like plastic, whatever. But you don't get little stringies, which is super important to me.
Yeah.
You don't get anything, and it stays wet. It's just super, super thick. I feel like it gets you a little further without having to use another one.
Yeah.
They're awesome. They're borderline reusable.
Well, since we're talking about cleaning cards, I feel like this is the big thing that just popped in my mind is cleaning your plates.
Yeah.
Dude, like, you know, like, I don't know about you, but like way back in the past, you just get these little dust particle imprints, right? So now I'm weird, right? And I have a dehumidifier. I have those little air purifiers in my room. I also have a dehumidifier for other reasons that we could talk about later on down the road. But I have an air purifier in my room, and this is the stuff I use. It's weird. It's a plexiglass.
Like plexiglass cleaner?
Yeah. So what it does is, so it's anti-static. And I have these different colored microfiber towels that I just use specifically for that product. That way I'm like, oh, okay, the colored towels are from my plate cleaner. But I use that. It's anti-static. It gets all the dust off. Plus it makes the plates like really freaking clean. Like they look like mirrors after I'm done. And then after that, just to make sure I'm extra protected, I use a lint roller.
I also
so what I'll do,
a lint roller, yep.
Yeah, you just take the lint roller. Let's say I'm putting a card right in the middle. I take my little lint roller, put it where my card's going to lay, rub it flat on there, and just peel that, and it removes any dust. And so that way you're not having to pop out a dent later from a dust imprint.
Yeah, if you feel like you're being a psychopath, you're not. Like, just take a step. Who gives a crap? Because ruining a $10,000 card with a eyelash you didn't see is hell. You don't want.
Well, and there's so many different other things you can do. Like I have my air gun, a little electronic air gun that I'll sweep the plate with, and so you know there's so many different things you can do.
Like actual air, like PSI, where the air, and like their whole bench. I personally have just like eyeglass cleaner that I have that is it has no alcohol in it or anything. It's just very like organic eyeglass cleaner. And I'd have a separate rag once again and just clean it with that before I do anything. I also, a little pro tip about being clean and cleanliness. I know we're kind of veering off from cleaning a card specifically, but like you said, this matters. I keep the back of the paper on most of my plates now. It just kind of, I only work off of one side that way, which the other side of it can't get scuffed with your clamps, and like if you're using a harder clamp and stuff, it just kind of prevents those little tiny scuffs from the clamps to get on the side of the plexi that you're working on. And it kind of, and if something does happen to like the inside of that, you have a completely brand new fresh side. So keep it on one side, you know what I mean? It's kind of neat little trick that's helped me. I know it's almost nothing, but yeah, something to bring to the table.
It gets the people going.
Obviously. What else we got?
Well, I think, we always get to this point in a podcast where we...
Oh, it's been 50 minutes.
When you see we see a card that you just see and you're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like I remember Card Care Academy did a Halloween contest, and this card still sticks with me because I think it was absolutely well done. Is Alex Bear's card he submitted. Quan will pull it up for us.
Pull it up.
Like, it was absolutely trashed
Yeah.
when,
That
the before.
bottom right corner just completely off.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
It
all
was just
kinds of
like, I look at that card and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was trashed. And then if we go to the after, and it looks completely brand new.
Yeah, I mean that's a
Telling you, that boy's got
crazy
skills.
store. You could still kind of see remnants here and there.
Yeah, but you have to look hard.
You have. I was right about to say, but the fact that you have to look for it means like, whoa, all right, bro, I see you. It's pretty crazy. I mean, the colors back. You could tell it was like a dirty card too.
Yeah.
And one thing about that bottom right hand corner where it got lifted up, stuff was in between. You could see a little black on that white, like a little hint of it. I don't know if you could zoom in to that.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I've had a couple cards, like it was a gold star that I'm thinking of. I forget which one. There's so many. I fixed so many stupid gold stars. It got a bunch of dirt inside of that part, and I got as much of it out as I could. But when I laid it back down, you could still see some black, like through the yellow almost, because those layers are so thin. So if you are doing work like that, if you're getting into advanced stuff like this, make sure that you're cleaning the crap out of that inside layer too, because you sometimes when you like get that fix and sandwich that back, if it's too dark, you might see like a remnants through the card or something, and it'll make that fix that we're so proud of feel a little bit less, because it did to me.
Well, Doug, if you were to have that hop on your bench, how would you approach it?
The what on my bench?
That card. If that card came to you from a client and you're like, here, fix this for me, how would you approach that fix?
Dude, there's so many things to even go over with that. I would probably have to, I mean, I would start with cleaning it. I would then hydro pump the crap out of it and just give it a general, like, soft press just to see what all I can start to get flat. You know what I mean? Just kind of start with a fresh plane and then just take it out and just start attacking one thing at a time. I feel like that lifted part, I'd probably start with first, as to not get any more damage to it, and getting stuff like that to stick back down. That's the hard part, and that's where the spoon comes in for me a lot of the times too, is to just re-adhere it with heat. Some people will try and use a heat press. I don't find the heat press good for stuff like that though. Maybe I just haven't figured it out, but I feel like local heat will kind of take care of stuff like that, and then just start to attack all those little micro creases and stuff as I go. And I will try and not blabber on about micro crease fixing. I know you and me really gets us riled up.
Yeah.
But steer away. How about you? What would you do?
So I don't know. So I'm weird. Like I've said this so many times this episode. Quan's gonna do like a weird counter for this one. But my biggest thing is I always try to hear the card first. And what I found works for me is I use a really high alcohol content spray that I make myself. That alcohol for me kind of seems to help reactivate the adhesive. I do this with a lot of huge folds, a lot of huge edge lifts that I get in. And then I'll just take the Q-tip, I'll just paint where all that is after I'm done cleaning it, get that alcohol in there, and then I'll lay blotter paper on the outside of my edge of my card, because when I press, that alcohol is going to come out of the card, and the blotter paper is going to absorb the alcohol away from the edge. Because isopropyl alcohol, if you guys don't know, if you ever want to remove ink, you just use isopropyl alcohol. But it'll absorb that alcohol content away from the card, and so that way it's not going to damage that blue layer. That's always my first go-to whenever I have huge edge lifts, and I just press it for a couple days, take it out, and then to kind of reform the whole entire card is I know we talk about not doing this, but sometimes you have to, is doing a 24-hour hydro pump. I'll just do a 24-hour hydro pump. 2 hours into the hydro pump, I'll work those creases, try to get them all the way gone, right? Working them, doing focal heat, doing a little, either spoon to Beedrill, or doing, fiery dance with the little tool. Try to work those creases away as much as possible, chucking it back into the same hydro pump, no respray, just chucking it back in there. 12 hours, do it again, work it 24 hours, and then I'm cooking it for 170 degrees for 7 to 8 hours, and then leaving it closed for 3 hours to cool down, and then pressing it again for an additional 3 days. That's how I would tackle that card. But then again, I do strange things. So
So do I. So do I. I hydro pump more than other people. Blah blah blah. I feel as though if you look at it in the sense of get card soft, dry fibers in place, retraining. You're just retraining stuff.
Yep.
And sometimes
Exactly.
it won't stick down, and you just kind of have to deal with that. But most of the time, if you do stuff right, you'll get it to stick back down.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing with adhesive is I kind of because in the Discord people are like, I really don't understand heat press what it does, and I kind of use a s'more analogy. You figure when you get that card heated up, you're making everything squishy, right? And then the two faces of your cards are your graham crackers, right? Your goal is to have it be a perfect s'more, right? Not too squishy, not too brown on the edges. And when you're doing, because when you cook a card, it's gonna look like a s'more. Like the cracker is brown, right? The card itself is gonna look brown when you cook a card, but you want to make it like a perfect s'more where everything's together. It's a little, everything's conformed. When heat press, all you're doing is heating up all those layers and making all those layers and fibers move into place with pressing it. Some people press harder than others, but when you're pressing it, you're forcing those fibers to kind of go from like this to this, and then you're cooking it so it's not sears, but cooks them into place.
Kind of ironing it. Yeah, you're breaking a hydrogen bond, which hydrogen bonds can only be broken with pressure, moisture, heat, and you're making those molecules move again, and basically just making it in line, and then just drying it all at once, type of thing. You're getting everything. Yep. Yeah. Trying to match the energy.
With wrapping up this podcast, as always, thank you guys so much. I am so grateful for everyone that I've met in this community, everyone that continuously sends me cards to work on, that pushes my skill set. And like I said in the last episode, I would not be able to do a lot of things I do, feed my family, take care of bills and stuff like that, if it wasn't for all of you guys who send me cards and all the people who don't even send me cards. I had a fan recently send me a whole entire box of sealed product to open just because they've been following me since day one, and it was so nice, so nice of you to do that. I am very grateful for all of you guys who send me stuff or just want to check in on me, just talk and just BS with me. Thank you so much for watching this podcast. Thank you so much for supporting me, supporting Doug, supporting the Card Care Academy, supporting all the other creators out there who do this. It means the world to me.
Me too, man. I'll get super deep, but then no, obviously, guys, thanks so much. I'm so excited to do the next episode. Episode 3 is gonna be sweet. We're gonna get super in depth about some stuff.